minions, welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and on this episode of the Gauntlet, I want to talk about star-roaming aliens, as opposed to aliens that just stay put. Jack Culver's wanted to know about the star roamers, and Stephen McHargue wanted to know about the aliens, so this is convenient. Deciding what to do with aliens was one of the hardest challenges of selecting the teams. Alien Grannies came in second, and won 2 of the rematches, so they could easily be the returning champions. What do you do to make aliens better without making them over the top? Additionally, in one of the rematches, J.Crew gained 9 victory points from invaders, and I had this whole video planned about aliens and bouncing invaders and how it's really their only opportunity for synergy, but then I scrapped it. I really wanted their new partner to enhance the faction, but give them a reason and a means to actually try to win bases, because otherwise it can feel like a different game. I think the Star Roamers are one of the few factions that actually give them a game plan outside of invaders and terraforming, which is what I want to talk about today. Mostly, I want to talk about how I failed to de-emphasize the invaders, but at least they are emphasized in new and interesting ways. You can judge my success based on how many legitimate plays I mention that don't involve the invader. Smash Up has a somewhat bad tendency to take cards literally even when we shouldn't. It frustrates me that the scouts place themselves into the hand rather than returning themselves to the hand. This means that it cannot combo with Ship's Engineer, which is really frustrating as it would allow synergy to turn scouts into first mates. And if you think that's too strong, I disagree, because first, it incentivizes the aliens to win bases, which is a good thing, and second, you still have the first mates. This combo has no power modification, and the 9 power scouts, whose movement is conditional, is not much better than the 8 power first mates, who are routinely paired with power boosting factions. Still, this combo allows the Ship's Engineer to shine, but in different ways. The Supreme Overlord can be a great stall tactic, but now it can speed up the game as well by allowing you to move a minion to another base. A 5-powered minion that can move a 5 is very serviceable and creates some big swings for your minions. Additionally, Teleport Overflow can trigger another move, and lets you play any number of minions with the same name from your hand. The scouts conveniently queue themselves up in your hand, allowing for a 9-power drop that you can immediately get back after a base scores. It's crazy to think of the aliens facilitating an 18 or 19 power burst, but they can, and when you can add winning bases onto invader bouncing, you have a very strong combo. There are other factions that have better invader access, but the Star Roamer access is also good. The ship's captain can retrieve and play an invader for faster burst when you are trying to win a base. The Star Roamers also have 2 copies of Port Me Up, which can actually let you use your invaders to break bases as a terminal play, since you can get them back. It used to be that leaving invaders unprotected was flirting with disaster, but Medical Officer stops that. Instead of destroying the minion, the invader could be returned to your hand. In many respects, this is actually doing you a favor, as it can make it easier to farm even more invaders, which is why I don't think it's an automatic play the ship's captain grabs the invader. The 2 4s are crucial to this faction, and if you already have 1 invader, it's very possible that 1 invader and the right 4 minion is much more valuable than 2 invaders, especially when you consider that neither the science officer nor the medical officer mention the word here, making their abilities global. It used to be that the collectors were used to retrieve invaders from turn to turn. This meant that you left an invader out unless you had an extra minion play. The science officer can provide a free invader retrieval every turn. You can replace it with ensigns, which will be clogging up your hand. Between the Star Roamer and Alien cards, there are so many ways to farm invaders. Mass Teleport is a beam up that lets you grab an invader and slow someone else down, at the cost of letting them choose what minion to get back. This can backfire, but it will likely be in your favor. You have an alternate play with Teleport Overflow to play both invaders in the same turn, although I prefer the scout play. I already mentioned Port Me Up after a base scores, which also blocks a player from rushing a base to get your invaders into the discard pile. So while the combo does have more invader farming, I still maintain it's not their only path to victory. The Star Roamers have an underrated card in Hyperspeed 10, which is perfect for making a player overpay on a base or just edging them out for victory. Given that this is a cease and desist faction, Winter Squashed has a good chance of coming up. Speaking of which, because these two teams are playing together, Winter Squashed is always guaranteed to be in the base deck, and it's one of the best terraforming targets. You can take a base where you are completely losing, terraform into Winter Squash, and throw one extra minion on there for 4 points and a drastic overpayment of your opponent. It's really hard to top that. I'm okay with strong terraforming plays. I just want to avoid the game where J-Crew terraformed 4 times because of the Granny recursion. Ship's Captain is also an excellent candidate for Port Me Up, and in the right circumstance I've actually grabbed a scout and played it immediately, rather than grabbing an invader. This is because I sometimes value breaking a base and disrupting someone else's minions, or uncontested points, which can yield more of a point swing than playing the invader that turn. If I know I'm going to use Port Me Up on the ship's captain, I can just get the invader next turn. I'm also getting back both cards that I've retrieved, giving me more minion plays, or setting up teleport overflow. If you can win 2 bases, especially one uncontested with their burst, then the pressure is definitely on, and you can invader bounce from a lead rather than a deficit. The invaders have a tendency to prioritize short-term goals, but creating a 4-point swing, potentially twice, will swing the game much more than a short-sighted play under some circumstances. That's the type of strategic choice I want to create for this team. I still always have the option of moving a high-powered minion into another base using Port Me Up, and finishing that base off quickly too. Rounding out the team are a few other useful utility cards. Weird New Worlds gives the aliens more breathing room and grants an extra minion play, which is useful given the global nature of the Science Officer. Protector Fields takes the place of Don't Touch My Babies, giving the aliens a very useful defensive card. Whiplash Maneuver can combine with Crop Circles for a devastating play. You can return all of someone else's minions while returning or moving based on what is best for your situation. Jam Signal is always a threat for a key base that will alter the flow of the game. Probe is always underrated, and I'm not sure why, since it takes out a key minion and gives you information about someone else's hand. You also have Teleport Error, which is completely useless and a great card to discard when your hand is full, saving you from a difficult decision. But most of the other cards still provide plenty of value. It's certainly possible to win a few bases and invader bounce your way to victory, and if this team can do that, they will go far into the tournament. But they also have options in case they never see the invaders, or they are dealt with quickly, which makes them more consistent. This is an extremely strong faction, but they can also lose. In fact, they've lost their last 2 exhibition matches against March Smashness teams. As far as weaknesses go, this is a very top-heavy team. Without access to the 4s and 5s, they can't do much other than annoy an opponent. And if they cannot affect anyone, and no one affects them, then you are left with some below-average cards. They have a few extra minion plays, but most are situational. They have no card draw, but are driven by an engine. If you can play aggressively, you can keep them off the bases and never give them a chance to get going. They have no power increases and no before the base specials, so if you are winning on your turn, you'll get the base, which is critical because you have to win bases against this team. Even if they win just 1 base with a 2VP split, that's going to be a big uphill battle if they can stall you just the slightest bit. It also hurts the team that they have no recursion. Once something is in their discard pile, it will stay there outside of a reshuffle, which won't happen without base support. You typically need 2 ship's engineers out since they cannot affect each other, and an early removal of one can hurt. That may seem like a lot of negatives, but I'm just trying to bring this combo back down to earth, no pun intended. I know they are strong, but I want to highlight that they can still lose, and that is the type of intrigue I want for this tournament, and why I accepted a team that is probably going to be on the upper echelon of my seeds. The tournament is designed so that any team could be knocked out in the first round, because nothing is ever guaranteed. I'm excited to see what this team brings to the tournament, and they are a threat to go deep into the tournament. What do you think of Star Roaming Aliens? Who would you give the aliens that provide synergy but de-emphasizes the invaders? Let me know in the comments. That's it for this team. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's shut it down.